The screen shattered Sawyer's world in a single, venomous swipe of the remote. There was Alex, his Alex, leaning in close to a wide-eyed blonde named Kendra, his hand brushing her thigh under the studio lights of Heartstrings Unraveled. That godforsaken straight dating spectacle that turned heartbreak into primetime fodder. "I've never felt this spark before," Alex murmured, his voice dripping with the kind of sincerity Sawyer had once mistaken for love, while the audience cooed like it was the most original lie ever told. Sawyer's breath caught. A jagged thing lodged in his throat as the confessional camera cut to Alex's face, flushed, earnest, utterly convincing. "Kendra's everything I've been missing," he said, eyes locking on the lens like a promise. But Sawyer knew those eyes. He'd woken up to them every morning for 2 years, tangled in sheets that smelled of sweat and whispered secrets in their cramped Bushwick apartment. But they were peddling bullshit to Middle America, and the betrayal hit like a freight train through his ribs. He didn't cry, not yet. Instead, he hurled the remote at the TV, the crack of plastic on glass echoing like a gunshot in the empty loft. Blood roared in his ears as he stormed to the window, fists pounding the sill until his knuckles split. Brooklyn pulsed with indifferent life, honking cabs, distant sirens, the endless grind of a city that chewed up dreams and spat out survivors. Sawyer pressed his forehead to the cool pain, tasting salt on his lips. "You motherfucker," he growled into the night. "You think you can erase us? Watch me burn it all down." That was the hook, the raw, unfiltered rage that propelled Sawyer Hayes from a heartbroken barista in a hipster coffee shop to the unlikeliest contestant on Heartstrings Unraveled's next season. It wasn't about revenge. Not really. It was about reclaiming the pieces of himself Alex had stolen, one stolen kiss at a time. But as the application form stared back at him from his laptop screen that humid July night, fingers hovering over "Submit," Sawyer felt the first crack in his armor. What if exposing Alex didn't fix the hollow ache in his chest? What if it just proved he was as broken as the man who'd left him for a script and a spotlight? He hit send anyway. The email confirmation pinged like a starting gun. The weeks blurred into a fever dream of auditions and psych evals, all under the fluorescent glare of a casting office in Midtown Manhattan. Sawyer had never been one for the spotlight. His life was kale smoothies at dawn shifts, late-night sketches in his Moleskine, dreams of illustrating graphic novels that no one would ever read. At 28, he was the guy who fixed his friends' heartbreaks over cheap IPAs at the local dive. The one with the easy laugh and the hidden scars from a Catholic upbringing that had taught him love was a sin wrapped in salvation. But Alex? Alex had always craved the stage. They'd met 2 years back at a queer open mic in the Village, Sawyer nursing a gin and tonic in the corner, Alex owning the room with his guitar-strummed ballads about lost boys finding home. "You're my anchor," Alex had whispered that first night, lips brushing Sawyer's ear as they stumbled into a cab. And for a while, it was true. Weekends tangled in bed, road trips upstate where they'd hike until their legs gave out, collapsing into wildflower fields with nothing but each other and the sky. Alex's hand in Sawyer's, steady and sure, like it was the only map they'd ever need. Then the calls stopped coming. Alex's gigs stretched into overnights. His phone buzzing with texts he angled away from Sawyer's gaze. "Networking," he'd say, flashing that boyish grin that used to melt Sawyer's defenses. "But all of it." And now, watching the finale on DV, Alex down on one knee, proposing to Kendra with a ring that sparkled like fool's gold, Sawyer felt the full weight of it crush him. "You're insane," his best friend Mia had said over FaceTime. Her Brooklyn accent thick with worry as she braided her hair in the background of her Crown Heights walk-up. Mia. The fierce dyke who dragged Sawyer out of more than one closet. Literal and figurative. Joining that heteronormative circus? To what? Crash his happily ever after? You'll get eaten alive. Maybe I want to be the wolf for once, Sawyer shot back. But his voice cracked, betraying the tremor in his soul. Nights blurred into insomniac hazes after that. The apartment echoing with ghosts, Alex's forgotten hoodie slung over the couch, the half-empty bottle of his cologne on the dresser. Sawyer would trace the label with trembling fingers, inhaling the ghost of him, until the scent twisted into nausea. The casting director, a sharp-eyed woman named Trish with a clipboard and zero patience, had eyed him like fresh meat during the final callback. Why heartstrings? She'd asked. Pen poised. Sawyer leaned forward, channeling every ounce of that pent-up fury into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Because I've got a story that America needs to hear, he'd lied. Smooth as bourbon. The truth? He wanted Alex's face when the mask slipped, live. Unscripted? Undeniable. Trish bought it? Or at least pretended to. Welcome to the family, she said, shaking his hand with nails like talons. As he left the building, the summer sun baking the sidewalks, Sawyer's phone buzzed, an email from production. Contestant packet attached. Rules. NDAs. And a bio sheet that demanded he play straight for the cameras. That night, alone with a six-pack in his sketchpad, Sawyer drew Alex, not the polished TV version, but the real one, tousled hair after sex, eyes soft with postcoital haze, a lazy smile that said you're my forever. The pencil snapped in his grip, leaving a jagged line across the page. He tore it up, scattering confetti of their history across the floor. Sleep came fitful, haunted by dreams of Alex's laugh echoing in empty stadiums, Kendra's arms around him like chains. Production descended like a whirlwind 2 weeks later. A glam team swept into his loft, armed with wardrobe rails and makeup kits, transforming the space into a sterile green room. Think Boy Next Door with Edge, the stylist barked, shoving Sawyer into slim-fit jeans and button-downs that hugged his runner's build. He stared at his reflection, hazel eyes shadowed with exhaustion, jaw set in quiet defiance, and wondered if this was what rock bottom looked like, or just the launch pad. Filming kicked off in a sprawling Malibu villa that screamed old Hollywood excess, infinity pools overlooking the Pacific, cabanas draped in white linen. The ocean's roar a constant underscore to the orchestrated drama. Sawyer arrived by van with the other 10 guys, a mix of tech bros, firefighters, and aspiring actors, all vying for the affections of this season's bachelorette. A yoga instructor named Lila with sun-kissed waves and a laugh like wind chimes. She was kind, Sawyer could tell immediately, her green eyes scanning the group with genuine curiosity amid the chaos of rose ceremonies and hot tub confessions. But his eyes weren't on her. They scanned the horizon for Alex, who, per the producer's sly whisper during transport, was a special guest mentor for the week. Sawyer's pulse thrummed like a war drum. Patience, he told himself, forcing a grin as the cameras rolled for the intro mingle. Hey, I'm Sawyer, from Brooklyn. Artist at heart. Coffee slinger by day. Looking for someone who gets the messiness of real life. The line felt scripted, but the cameras ate it up, zooming in on his easy charm. Lila pulled him aside first, her hand light on his arm as they strolled the cliffside path. "You seem tense," she said, tilting her head. "Like you've got stories behind those eyes," Sawyer chuckled. "Low and genuine." "Haven't we all? Mine just involve a lot of bad decisions and good coffee," she laughed. And for a fleeting second, the knot in his chest loosened. Lila wasn't Kendra, blunt and performative, but there was a quiet strength to her, a way she listened without filling the silence. As they parted with a rose tucked into his lapel, Sawyer's gaze drifted to the villa's upper deck, where producers huddled like conspirators. That night, over steak and Merlot at the group dinner, the air crackled with flirtation and veiled barbs. Sawyer played his part, witty toasts, lingering glances at Lila, but his skin prickled with anticipation. Then, the doors swung open, and there he was, Alex, striding in like he owned the sunset, all chiseled jaw and tailored blazer, the heartstrings winner's glow still clinging to him like a second skin. Kendra wasn't with him, divorce rumors swirled in tabloids, but Sawyer didn't care about that. He cared about the way Alex's eyes widened, just a fraction, when they locked on Sawyer across the table. "Sawyer," Alex breathed, the word half lost in the clink of glasses, but it sliced through the noise like a blade. The table fell into a puzzled hush, Lila's brow furrowing as she glanced between them. "Surprise," Sawyer said, raising his glass with a smile that was all teeth. The camera's word, oblivious to the undercurrent of venom. Alex recovered fast, sliding into the empty seat beside Lila with producer-planted ease. "Old friend from back east," he explained smoothly, clapping Sawyer's shoulder, a touch that burned like acid. "Small world." "Huh. Smaller than you think," Sawyer murmured, low enough for only Alex to hear. Their eyes met, and in that charged silence, Sawyer saw it all, the flicker of guilt, the hardening resolve, the ghost of the man who'd once traced constellations on his back. Dinner dragged on, a minefield of small talk and stolen glances, until Lila called for a toast. "To new beginnings," she said, her voice warm. Alex echoed it, his gaze never leaving Sawyer's. "To truths we can't outrun." The words hung heavy, a promise or a threat, Sawyer couldn't tell which. As the group dispersed to the fire pit for confessions, Sawyer lingered, heart pounding. The expose was coming, but now, face to face with the wreckage, he wondered if revenge would fill the void or just widen it. The villa's fire pit glowed like a judgmental eye that first night, flames licking the salt air as the contestants spilled their souls for Lila's sake. Sawyer sat on the periphery, nursing a beer, the label peeling under his thumb like old skin. Alex had vanished into the shadows with a producer, no doubt scripting his next heart-to-heart, but his presence lingered, a specter in every laugh, every brush of hands. Lila settled beside Sawyer, her bare feet curling into the rug, the firelight dancing across her freckled shoulders. "You and Alex, there's history there," she said softly. Not a question. Her perceptiveness unnerved him, in a house wired for deception. Honesty felt like a liability. Sawyer took a pull from his bottle, the bitterness grounding him. "Yeah. The kind that leaves scars." He hadn't meant to say it aloud, but the words tumbled out, raw and unpolished. Lila didn't pry, just nodded, her hand resting lightly on his knee, a gesture of solidarity, not seduction. Scars make the best stories, she replied. As long as they heal right. Her words burrowed deep, stirring something Sawyer had buried under layers of anger. For the first time since the audition tape, he let himself see her, not as a prop in his vendetta, but as a person navigating the same gilded cage. They talked until the embers died. About her nomadic childhood trailing her surfer dad from coast to coast. His sketches of Brooklyn's underbelly that captured the ache of anonymity. Laughter came easy, surprising him, and when she leaned her head on his shoulder, it was comfort, not conquest. But dawn brought the mentor's arrival, and with it, the real storm. Alex cornered Sawyer in the kitchen at first light, the house still hushed save for the hum of the espresso machine. "What the hell are you doing here?" Alex hissed. His voice a urgent whisper. Blue eyes flashing with a mix of panic and something darker, possession, maybe. Up close, he was achingly familiar, the faint scar above his lip from a bar fight they'd laughed about, the cologne that still haunted Sawyer's dreams. Sawyer poured his coffee slow, deliberate, letting the steam curl between them like a barrier. "Same as you." "Yes." Chasing the American dream, one lie at a time. The jab landed, Alex flinched, running a hand through his hair. That telltale gesture when cornered. "This isn't what you think," Alex pleaded, stepping closer, his breath warm against Sawyer's ear. "Kendra was a mistake. The show. It was exposure for my music." "I never stopped," he cut off, glancing at the camera drone hovering discreetly in the corner. "We need to talk." "For real." Sawyer's laugh was hollow, echoing off the marble counters. "Talk? Like you talked before ghosting me for 3 months? Save it for your confessional." "Rock star." He shoved past, shoulder clipping Alex's, the contact igniting a spark he hated himself for feeling. Desire, thrill, love, they tangled like thorns, drawing blood. The day's challenges were a blur of contrived romance. A beach volleyball tournament where Sawyer spiked balls with extra venom, earning Lila's impressed grin. A sunset yacht cruise where confessions flowed freer than the champagne. Alex, as mentor, paired off with contestants, doling out advice, laced with subtext only Sawyer could decode. "Vulnerability's key," he'd say to a wide-eyed firefighter. But his eyes flicked to Sawyer, loaded with unspoken I'm sorries. By evening, the group date, an intimate dinner on the sand, torches flickering against the tide, crackled with unspoken tension. Violet, radiant in a flowing sundress, pulled Sawyer for a private toast. "You're holding back," she observed, clinking her glass to his. "I can feel it. Like there's a ghost at the table." He almost told her then, the whole sordid tale of Alex's double life. The nights Sawyer had paced their apartment, phone in hand, dialing numbers that went straight to voicemail. But the cameras loomed, and betrayal wasn't just personal anymore, it was ratings gold. Instead, he deflected with a half-truth. "Ghosts are stubborn. But I'm learning to exorcise them." She squeezed his hand, her touch steadying the chaos in his chest. "Good. Because I think you're worth the haunt." The words hit like sunlight through storm clouds, warming places Sawyer had iced over. For a moment, he imagined it, a life beyond revenge, with someone who saw his fractures and stayed anyway. Alex watched from across the fire, and when the group dispersed, he followed Sawyer to the guest cabana. The door clicked shut, sealing them in humid privacy. You think this fixes us? Alex demanded, voice low and ragged. Coming here, playing the scorned lover? That's pathetic. Sawyer. Pathetic. Sawyer whirled. Fists balled. You paraded our life as fiction for a check and a ring. You broke me. Alex. On national TV. Tears pricked his eyes. Hot and unwelcome. But he didn't wipe them away. Let Alex see the damage. Alex's facade cracked. Hands reaching out. Cupping Sawyer's face with a tenderness that nearly undid him. I was scared, he admitted. Thumb brushing Sawyer's cheek. The industry, it's brutal for guys like us. I thought. One big break, and I could come back. To you. But Kendra, it was the role. Nothing more. The kiss came fierce. Desperate, Alex's lips crashing into Sawyer's like a wave reclaiming shore. Sawyer froze, then melted, hands fisting in Alex's shirt, pulling him closer even as his mind screamed no. It tasted of salt and regret, of 2 years' worth of what if, and for 30 stolen seconds, the world narrowed to the press of bodies, the shared breath. Then reality intruded, the distant hum of a producer's walkie-talkie, and Sawyer shoved him back. Chest heaving. Don't, he gasped, wiping his mouth. This isn't redemption. It's just another scene. He stormed out, leaving Alex slumped against the wall. But the damage was done. That kiss lingered like a bruise, complicating the fire in his veins. Revenge, he realized, was a fickle lover, promising clarity, delivering only more shadows. Days bled into a rhythm of dates and eliminations, the villa thinning as roses wilted and hearts feigned breaking. Sawyer advanced, his connection with Lila deepening into something real, midnight swims where they traded fears under the stars, her head on his chest as he sketched her silhouette in the sand. She challenged him, peeling back layers with gentle questions. What does home look like to you? And her. Sawyer glimpsed a future untainted by deceit. But Alex's shadow loomed. As guest mentor, he orchestrated twists, pairing Sawyer with Lila for a helicopter tour over the canyons, where the wind whipped their words into confessions. He's using you, Alex had warned Lila privately. Sawyer overhearing from the doorway, voice dripping concern. Sawyer's got baggage. Trust me. The accusation festered, poisoning the air. Lila confronted him that night, eyes searching. Is it true? About you and him? Sawyer's throat tightened, the truth hovered on his tongue, but spilling it now would torch the show. His shot at catharsis. We're complicated, he evaded. But you're simple. Real. She bought it? For now. But doubt seeded. Meanwhile, Alex's overtures grew bolder, notes slipped under doors, we can fix this. Lingering touches during group coaching that set Sawyer's skin aflame with conflicted heat. One afternoon, during a trust fall exercise on the beach, Alex caught him mid-drop, their bodies aligning in an echo of old intimacies. I miss you, Alex breathed. Too low for mics. Sawyer wrenched free. Sand flying. You don't get to miss what you murdered. But alone later, sketching Alex's profile by the pool, those eyes, that mouth, he tore the page again, the rip echoing his fracturing resolve. The halfway mark brought the fantasy sweet dates, a producer's wet dream of silk sheets and veiled hookups. Lila chose Sawyer, the card trembling in her hand as she handed it over. "I want to know you," she said, vulnerability cracking her poise. The suite was opulent, four-poster bed. Balcony overlooking moonlit waves, but as they uncorked wine, tension coiled tight. They talked for hours, bodies inches apart, the air thick with possibility. When she kissed him, soft, exploratory, Sawyer responded, letting the warmth chase away the chill of betrayal. It wasn't fireworks, not the soul-searing blaze of Alex. But it was honest, a bridge to something new. They made love slow, reverent, her sighs mingling with the ocean's hush. Afterward, tangled in sheets, she traced his tattoos, a Brooklyn skyline inked across his ribs, and whispered, "Stay with me." After this, Sawyer held her, throat burning. "I want to." But as she slept, he slipped to the balcony, staring at the dark sea. The exposed loomed. Producers had greenlit a surprise reunion for the next rose ceremony. Alex as the wild card intruder. Bewildered for the finale's sweepstakes. Part of him thrilled at the chaos, the rest mourned the man he was becoming. Dawn broke with a text from Mia. "Don't lose yourself in the flames. You're more than his villain." He deleted it, but the words stuck. A lifeline in the undertow. The villa's energy shifted after the suite. Like a storm front rolling in off the Pacific, charged, inevitable. Sawyer woke to Lila's soft breathing, her arm draped across his waist. And for a stolen heartbeat, he let himself pretend. Pretend this was his life, mornings with coffee on the balcony, her laughter chasing away the ghosts. But the producer's schedule waited for no illusions. By noon, they were herded to the helipad for the next challenge, a legacy date, where contestants pitched their futures to Lila. Cameras capturing every stuttered dream. Sawyer went last, the sun dipping low as he and Lila hiked to a secluded cove, wildflowers brushing their ankles. He unrolled a sketchpad, pages filled with visions, a loft studio in Brooklyn, canvases splashed with color, queer youth centers illustrated with stories of resilience, Lila woven in, her face fierce and kind amid the chaos. "This is me," he said, voice steady despite the lump in his throat. Not perfect. Scarred. But building something real. She traced a drawing, a couple dancing in a rain-slicked street. Faces blurred but hands clasped tight. "It's beautiful," she murmured, eyes glistening. "You are." The kiss that followed was deeper, laced with promise, and as they tumbled into the sand, bodies arching under the fading light, Sawyer felt a crack in the wall around his heart. Not love. Not yet, but possibility. Fragile and fierce. Alex's intrusion shattered it all 2 nights later. The rose ceremony loomed. The final 4 whittled to Sawyer. A surfer dude named Jake. And 2 others whose names blurred in the stress. Producers buzzed like hornets, whispering about ratings dynamite. At the pre-ceremony cocktail hour, held in the villa's lantern-lit garden, Alex appeared, not as mentor, but as the announced wild card, heartstrings golden boy. Back to steal a heart and append the game. Gasps rippled through the group. Lila's hand flew to her mouth, delight masking confusion. "Alex? From last season," she exclaimed, as he swept in with that practiced charm, bouquet of white roses in hand. But his eyes sought Sawyer's across the crowd, dark with intent. The mingle devolved into a frenzy, Contestants jockeying for Lila's ear. Alex holding court with tales of his journey post-show. Kendra's name surfaced in whispers, the divorce filed quietly last month. Per TMZ leaks. But he spun it as growth. Love taught me what I really want. Bullshit, Sawyer thought, sipping his gin fizz until it burned. When Alex approached, was inevitable. A collision scripted by fate or producers, take your pick. Missed you out there, Alex said. Voice pitched for the mic. But his hand on Sawyer's elbow screamed intimacy. Lila watched from afar. Brow furrowed. Sawyer pulled free. Smile brittle. Save the lines for her. We both know your script. He walked away. But not before catching the hurt flash in Alex's eyes. Real. Or the best acting yet. The ceremony itself was agony distilled. Crystal flutes. Lila's gown shimmering like sea glass. The tension thick enough to choke on. Full names. Then the surfer, leaving Sawyer and Alex as the final two. Sawyer, she said. Voice trembling. You've shown me vulnerability. Depth. The rose extended. But before he could take it, Alex stepped forward. Lila. Wait. The garden fell silent. Cameras zooming. I have to be honest. This isn't just about you. He turned to Sawyer. The spotlight merciless. Sawyer and I. We were together. Before all this. And I fucked it up. Royally. The words detonated like a grenade. Lila's face drained of color. Jake muttered, "What the fuck?" under his breath. Sawyer's world tilted. Rage and vindication warring in his chest. Alex, he started. But the man barreled on. Voice cracking for the first time on camera. I joined last season to chase fame. Thinking it would fix me. But it destroyed us. Sawyer's here because of me, because I lied. Cheated the narrative. Proposed to a woman when my heart was across the country. Tears streaked his face now. Unscripted and raw. I love him. So. And if that means walking away. I will. The producers froze. Walkies crackling in panic. This wasn't the plan. Lila's eyes darted between them. Hurt blooming into clarity. You both used me? Her voice was small. But it sliced deep. No, Sawyer interjected. Stepping forward. Heart hammering. The expose he'd craved tasted like ash now. Lila. I came here angry. But you saw me. The real me. This. He gestured to Alex. The chaos. It's my mess. Not yours. She searched his face. Then turned to Alex. And you? Was any of it real? Alex swallowed hard. The regret? Yeah. The rest. I'm sorry. He backed away. Roses dropping to the grass. The wild card crown slipping. In the stunned aftermath, as medics checked Lila and contestants milled in shock, Sawyer found himself alone on the cliffside. Wind whipping his shirt. Footsteps crunched. Alex? Of course. Face streaked with salt. You win, Alex said. Voice hollow. Happy now? Sawyer laughed. Bitter and broken. When? I came for blood. And all I got was more ghosts. Turned. Hazel eyes locking on blue. But, Alex? Why drag us both through hell? Because I couldn't let go, Alex whispered. Closing the distance. Not of you. The kiss was inevitable. Tempest of need and sorrow, hands in hair, bodies crashing like waves on rock. Sawyer tasted the lie's residue, the love's embers, and pulled back gasping. Too late. But as Alex crumpled, sobbing into the night, Sawyer felt no triumph. Just the vast, aching Pacific, mirroring the void inside. The finale aired live from a soundstage in LA. A week later, the villa drama edited into a soap opera arc that trended nationwide. Heartstrings betrayal lit up Twitter, queer forums dissected it with glee and grief. Sawyer, contract puff, sat on stage in a sharp navy suit, spotlights hot on his skin, Lila beside him in emerald silk, poised, but distant. The host, a permatanned Ken doll named Chad, milked the tension. Sawyer, America wants to know, after the reveal, do you choose love or let go? Cut to Alex in the audience. Front row, eyes red-rimmed. Sawyer glanced at Lila, her hand finding his under the table, solid, forgiving. I choose truth, he said, voice steady for the mics. Lila, you're incredible. Stronger than this circus deserves. But my heart, it's still untangling. She nodded, squeezing once before letting go. A quiet absolution. Then, to Alex, you broke us. But maybe that's the mercy. We both needed to see it. No expose. No fireworks, just honesty. Raw and redemptive. Alex stood, mic in hand. But words failed. He walked out. The doors click echoing like closure. In the green room after, Lila hugged him fierce. Go heal, artist boy. And draw me in your next book? Sawyer promised he would. Back in Brooklyn, the loft felt less haunted, Alex's things shipped back unopened, the air clearer. Mia crashed on his couch that first night, blasting Chapel Roan and force-feeding him dumplings. You're free. Das, she toasted. Now live like it. Weeks turned to months. Sawyer's sketches sold at a pop-up gallery in Williamsburg. Queer tales of resilience that drew crowds. He dated casually, a barista with ink-sleeved arms, a poet who quoted Whitman over brunch, but no rush. No chains. One rainy October evening, scrolling he saw Alex's post, a stripped-down acoustic cover. Lyrics about bridges burned and rebuilt. No tags. No pleas. Just art. Born of ruin. Sawyer hit play, the melody weaving through his veins like forgiveness. He didn't call. Didn't need to. Instead, he opened his Moleskine, pencil flying, two figures on a cliff, backs turned to the sea, but hands brushing, tentative, hopeful. Not an end, but a beginning. In the end, the show hadn't exposed Alex. It had liberated Sawyer from lies, from longing, from the boy who'd mistaken possession for love. America watched the fallout, but only Sawyer knew the quiet victory, surviving the storm, emerging whole. And in the vast, messy heart of it all, that was the real romance.